following show may shock, disturb, and offend some viewers. The opinions, theories, and facts shared on this podcast are not widely accepted by the brainwashed masses, especially those who find dark humor offensive. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jeffrey Dahmer soaked in blood. The Unabomber blowing up. Waco, Texas, and Heaven's Gates. Aliens modified, meant for apes. JFK shot in the head by the CIA. Bigfoot and the Mothman. Son of Sam talking to dogs again. Witches, ghosts, and goblins. Mysterious noise and hauntings. Dark arts in the skull and bones. Most celebrities are probably cloned. So if you're feeling all alone, crack a beer and get stoned. I welcome you to the podcast Strange Brew. We're here to entertain you. We're here to entertain you.
It's about to get strange.
The United Nations, which they founded and control, has clearly stated its goals of establishing a new world order, a UN standing army, and a global taxation system. The Queen's husband, Prince Philip, and Evelyn Rothschild have already established an interfaith declaration for the creation of one world religion. What would life be like in this world empire with one world religion, one world army, one world economy, one world court, one world media, one world government, and one world dictator? What the public doesn't know is that Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto and the Russian Constitution have been built into the UN Charter, and that the New World Order will be a communist world order. Peace on earth will be a forced peace in which citizens will have no rights. No right to bear children without approval, no right to travel without authorization, no right to own private property, no right to privacy, no right to bear arms, no right to protest, no right to receive an inheritance, no right to choose an education or a job or even a place of residence, and worst of all, no right to live. The right to live will be based on an individual's rating of usefulness to the royal elite. In this planned world without borders or nations, citizens will be disarmed of all weapons, including handguns, and will have no means to protest, fight, resist, or challenge this one world authority who will control them spiritually, economically, and militarily.
Oh, I thought I edited out that stupid TikTok sound. I hate that. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Welcome back. I'm your host, Tomcat, aka Tom Thompson, the Raptillion. So me and Billy were supposed to record this week. We're going to go live to talk about the Human Hamburger Factory. But Billy's been busy working up in addicts like he's Anne Frank. So I brought Troy back on the show. Yeah, I know. And so we're just chilling out. I wanted to actually I was going to do this a while ago with Aaron, but I thought, you know what? I have considering where Canada is at right now. I wanted to cover the countdown to 2030. So if you want to introduce yourself, sir, once again, go ahead. Yes,
thanks
he
for
was
having me
Jewish.
back, Tom.
Karl Marx was Jewish.
Thanks for having me back, Tom. Yeah, I'm Sailor Boy Troy on the internet. I'm just here digging through the journey like everybody else here, just kind of here to either point people in the right direction or get pointed in the right direction myself. So thanks for having me back, Tom.
Yeah, man. And you're a good person that can kind of be like, hey, what are you doing? Right? Like, and you'll be like, oh, I got nothing going on today. Let's definitely do this kind of thing. Right. So you're definitely a good fill-in when the boys are too busy, right? Aaron's in Ireland, and he actually went recently to the Irish protest against the invasion that's happening in Ireland too. So I was like, good for you, man. Good for you for going out. I got some whiskey. It's really watered down whiskey at this point, though.
That's a shame. You got to go put some more in there.
I know. I ran out. I'm trying to ease off the drinking because the kid is a month away. So essentially, Friday will be one of my last big days to drink. For everybody that's watching and sees this live, we'll be live on Friday for the 7 years of strangeness. It's going to be a big celebration, probably around like 5:30ish time we get started. But it's going to be celebrating doing the show for 7 years. We have fun clips of stuff we've done in the past, lots of stuff. So everybody make sure to check out that. So yeah, welcome to the countdown of Agenda 2030. Considering for all the people that might hear this on audio a little after, obviously we're all aware that Mark Carney got in Canada. He is a full-blown globalist communist. Hangs out with some of the worst people. He's part of the Bilderberg Group, the WEF. I'm sure other shady shadow elite organizations. He is one of the worst of the worst. If you think Trudeau was bad, you have seen absolutely nothing yet.
Oh, come on. Let's give him a chance.
Not even close. And right, that clip displays it quite well, that even some of the things that they mentioned, that documentary came out, I think, in the early 2000s. I can't remember what it's called, but I've seen most of it. And I would cut clips from it really when TikTok first blew up, which was years and years ago now, trying to expose some of this stuff. Like at one point I got to 60,000 followers. They literally take down my accounts all the time. I just got to 1,000 recently taken down. I'm just going to keep pushing, but, and then I got an account ban warning, our account banned today. And then I noticed on my other account that it was back up. So I'm like, they literally try to ban all of my accounts because I don't play this field where I'm like, oh, the conservatives, oh, the liberals. I'm like, no, they're all corrupt and shady and like parasites. And the algorithm doesn't like that because you're like, oh, you're calling out our system.
It's only a matter of time before you get black bagged. I guarantee it. We'll see when that becomes legalized to take people off the streets.
Oh, it's crazy, man. The direction we're headed, and in that video, even they're already trying to pull this stuff off by, confiscating guns, the hate speech censorship bill pushed by, usually people with tiny little hats and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's I know it's getting crazy, man. Ontario is a terrible place. But so weird.
When I was in the military, like we travel around and everyone was like, oh, you're from Ontario. Like you hear that so much. You're just like, yeah, I'll just say I'm from New Brunswick or something.
So I like this image. That's a good one. I would probably, I gotta find that somewhere. Somebody posted that. It's like someone throwing out all the Agenda 2030, the Marxist communist stuff, the pride flags. So Agenda 2030 is like disguised as this, like, no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, sure, propaganda, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordability and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities and equities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on the land, peace, justice, and a strong institutions, it's all disguised as these things that they can use to usher in communism. It's a fact. Like,
surface level, it you can't really argue with a lot of that stuff. Like it's very, especially coming from a country like even when we weren't so radicalized, we were we were a socialist country. Let's call it what it was, but we weren't so far over where it was like to the point where there was tribalism, right? Like I like my free healthcare, right? Like everybody should have, rights to free healthcare, rights to cheap housing, like the basic essentials, right? But
it should be a human right.
Yeah, a human right, but at what cost, right? Like the climate agenda, when we were getting taxed out our ass to pay like a carbon tax. Meanwhile, like we have the boreal forest, which scrubs so much of that stuff out of the sky. Like
climate change doesn't exist. It's not real.
Well, that's just it.
They manufacture it.
If you wanted to do it the right way, instead of hurting the Canadian people, just tariff every other country on the planet for carbon except us, because we're the ones scrubbing it.
Well, the thing is that India doesn't have a carbon tax. They produce the most pollution in the entire world next to China. They're literally a cesspool of garbage people and garbage shit. Like, I don't give a shit, man. I don't care. I don't like Indians. Sorry, everybody. I actually have friends that are Indians. I like them, but mostly on the whole surface as a people, they're pretty bad. And we can clearly see this when they're coming to our country, and they're a foreign diaspora of people that choose not to assimilate. They want to bring their also garbage culture of worshiping monkeys and rats and building temples for them and all the garbage shit that they do, because they're not really clean, sanitary, well-educated people. They have a basic little small IQ of 73. But like at the end of the day, this is coming after all of us. I don't care where you're from. This will affect us all. But of course, if people are being flooded into my country that don't share the same culture as me, the same heritage, the same traditions and values, I'm not going to like them. And you're only going to force people not to like you by coming in here and being like, this is my country now. And then like, dude, the Khalistani movement, all the stuff that these people are doing, the Muslims, you're only going to cause this division. I've said this numerous times in the show. The more people that you bring in with different ethnicities and religions and cultures, it only causes more and more division. But they use this guise all the time of like, we're here to save you. We're going to save you from all these disastrous things that are happening that they then manufacture. All of the mostly all of the disasters, from school shootings to climate change to the forest burning down to 9/11, all of this stuff has been manufactured to try to bring people to their knees and put them under a surveillance state, because that's what 9/11 did. So it's not real. They just manufacture these things to bring the nation to its knees. Yeah, all those elbows up folks, like they look like they're chickens, man. The chicken people, back, elbows up, Carney. It's like crazy, man.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the fuck Trudeau crowd. They obviously didn't come out and play.
No, they don't like. They just switched a guy out, and it's a guy that's even worse than him. Is more of a globalist. Is more like, it's so crazy. Yeah, and the agenda is pushed by the sheeple. We are CEO. Sorry, yeah, I know. It's like, yeah, because you steal everything. That's true. Like even the tech industry, they just steal other people's ideas, much like Albert Einstein did, because he literally stole most of his ideas from a German guy. Go figure. But now Klaus Schwab has stepped down, which is interesting, with the World Economic Forum, and they have a new guy heading it, but then the Pope dies at 88. There's all these weird connections. Europe's power just went out, like France, Belgium. There's 3 other places I can't remember right now. And conveniently they did this. And then it's the idea of like problem, reaction, solution. And they literally, people were like panicking. And this is what they do. They keep people in a state of fear. This is how they control everybody, is through fear. They say, oh, the country's burning down. There's forest fires everywhere. Just wait for it. It's coming back. And then there's a cyber attack. Conveniently, 33 days before the power outage in Europe, they said there would be a cyber attack. 33. What do you think that number comes from?
I would say possibly up in the Freemasons. But yeah, it's wild. Like, I've gone down this rabbit hole a few times myself, and yeah, I've looked into the masonry and everything, and everything does seem scripted, like a very controlled collapse, like you had said. Like there's almost no coincidences anymore, and I don't know why people can't get it together. And because everybody reads stuff surface level, and they don't dig deep enough to see the facts that are right there. Like I was not this open until I started looking into this, because I used to think it was woo-woo witchcraft, and then you look into it, you're like, holy crap, there you go, the Davos group being one of them, right?
Yeah, why do they need to be so heavily armed, right? When they're in Davos, why they have all these literal people with like assault rifles is because obviously they're doing stuff that the people won't like that they're doing. You know what I mean? So I just want to read this before I get into the Agenda 2030. Here's an actual thing from Carney's book. Western society is morally rotten and has been corrupted by capitalism. I would say Jews, but this requires rigid controls of personal freedom, industry, and corporate funding. This is not a promise to make the lives of ordinary people better, but temporarily worse. Oh, I'm sure this world will be severely constrained. Choice, less flying, less meat, more inconvenience, temporary, more poverty. Assets will be stranded. Gasoline cars will be unsellable, and insufficient properties will be unrentable. He's literally stating the globalist agenda in his book of like, all of these rich people think that they have the say over our lives. That is absurd. There is more of us than there is of them. And the more people that realize that, and that's what's crazy, the people that voted for this. See, I don't believe that. I think they're all selected, right? But for my wife, she's like, she had some hope in Pierre that maybe he wasn't this parasite. And I kept telling her, I was like, it's not, he's part of it. I can prove it. I've proven it on many videos on Instagram, TikTok, all this stuff. The show, he is part of it. He will pander to these foreign diaspora of people that should never have been brought into this country ever. And then, I was like, okay, you know what? I voted one other time. And that was for when Trudeau had the snap election. And I wore my fuck Trudeau sweater. They said I could have gotten in trouble for it, I guess. Like, you shouldn't be wearing that stuff. And then I was like, before that, since I was like 17, 16, I've been aware of this globalist agenda and the New World Order. I was super into this stuff back when YouTube was cool, not YouTube. And I was always aware of this stuff. So I'm like, I'm going to, there's no one representing me. Every time there's a politician up there, I was like, that guy's lying. That guy's lying. That guy's going to represent this. And the people that don't understand this, that are conservative, all of the policies that gave the liberals the power to do what they did, even during the convoy and the censorship and the gun confiscation, all of that was actually put in place by Harper's government. Most people don't know that Harper was the one that signed us onto Agenda 2030. He signed us onto the climate agenda, the Paris Accord, all of that stuff. They're all the same. And then it's like it's mind blowing, right? That people are like, they're fixated on this system and they think because these people tell them that they have a choice that they do. It's so crazy to me.
Yep. Well, a lot of the stuff was written about like 20, 30 years ago. Like, I
100 years ago, dude. Like,
100 years ago, you're absolutely right. Like they date it back to the masonry, right? Like they predicted the first two world wars in masonry, and they said how they would do the third world war. It's right there in Albert Pike's book.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it come to fruition, right? And the question is, like, how do we
move forward?
Not even move forward. Like at what point is Canada going to wake up, or the people going to wake up anywhere that this is happening? Like, how much blood is going to have to be spilled, or is it going to take blood to be spilled for people to wake up and go, wow, this isn't right?
They will watch their own children be murdered. Look at Austin Metcalf. A black kid stabs Austin Metcalf while his brother's watching for absolutely no reason at all. I think he's like, you're in my seat, and the kid's like, what? I'm offended now. I'm going to stab you. And this is not against like black people or whatever people want to claim. There is a fucking problem, obviously, when you have a minority of people that commit most of the crime, and they can claim it's because of oppression and all that bullshit, but that's not even true. They get so much money from this DEI bullshit, and now the father of Austin Metcalf was talking about how black people are oppressed, and that's why this is happening. They murdered your fucking son, man, and you're going off about it's so crazy to me. And it's not against like black people as a whole, because there's good and bad people in all groups of people, including white people. There's low quality, terrible fucking white people, especially the global elitists are a lot of, white rich people like Mark Carney. But the thing is that there is an issue of this idea that, it seems like if you're white, you can't say anything about this stuff, or you get chastised, or what exactly happened with Austin Metcalf. How many murders and how many people are going to get killed because of diversity before anybody does anything?
Well, you see, I've also looked at it and wondered, like, I wonder if it's just this victim mind virus that we've created for people too, right? Where people don't understand, and it doesn't matter your culture at all. It's a matter of like who can play the biggest victim, to the point where they don't know what an objective threat really is, and they just use this excuse to go, well, he stood in front of me, so I was threatened for my life, and I stabbed him, right? Like maybe it's just like, maybe they believe the shit that they're spouting too, right?
They do. That's why I bring up the stuff so often. I know we have fans out there that are white, black, indigenous, Asian. Like I know that we have fans of all walks of life, colors, creeds, and I've always said this. I have nothing against anybody, but when my attention was drawn to this white agenda that they've pushed, where you can't say anything if you're white. If that happened to a black person, if a white guy just randomly stabbed a black person, there would be all hell would break loose. Look how they reacted over George Floyd, right? But it's a agenda, so like that's what's going on. So and like I said a million times on the show, I have nothing against anybody, but there's definitely a psyop for sure. But I will not justify it's somewhat about division, but if there is essentially white people being murdered for nothing, and it's happening all over Europe all the time, like the grooming gangs, a 15-year-old girl got lured in by these men. There was about, I think, like 5 to 10 of them. They all did the R word to her. They assaulted her, and they actually called their friends to come join and do this. They forced her out to drink alcohol. She got intoxicated. The cops come. They blamed her. And then when somebody in the UK, specifically, there's one woman that called them like predators or something like that, and she got arrested for that, for calling somebody who R-worded a young girl. Specifically, they're Muslim grooming gangs. They literally arrested her for that. And these 15, I think it was about 15 guys, assaulted a young, pretty much like a child. A 15-year-old is pretty young. And then it's the white person's fault. Oh, they're racist if they call out this stuff. And they call them grooming gangs, not, the R word, which is what they should be called. They can't say this on YouTube. We want to try to keep our YouTube channel, but the Kalergi plan is a very real thing, and I will keep trying to draw attention to it. So I did a video where I called this out, where I was like, oh, this is a whole agenda. I asked ChatGPT, just out of curiosity, I was like, how many white people existed in 19, I think I told you this, did I? 1930. I was like, how many white people existed in 19
Oh yeah, when we were
30? And it was like 40%. How many white people exist now? And it's like 6 to 8%. Over 100 years, we've been decimated by this agenda. And most people don't even realize what's being done. And I actually have talked to Black people, natives, Asians, all people of different walks of life that agree and see what's going on. So,
well,
I can't deny it forever.
As far as the legal system is concerned, like I look at it and going, like, I thought things were based on intent. Like we're not judging anything by intent at all anymore. We're just It's surface level yet again, right? Because like this guy clearly called people to come over and do the same thing, and the other person got like, no, the intent was the phone call. If you had no other circumstantial evidence, there was your phone call. There's your intention proven. They're just, again, maybe it's the ESG scores. Maybe, like you said, maybe the cops are doing whatever they're doing for the
they're
ESG
bought
side
out,
of the
man.
house.
You know what's crazy about Canada? Okay, first of all, we give people $9,000 when they just show up here. That's absurd. While Canadian people are starving in the streets. But also, did you know you don't even have to be a citizen to join the armed forces, be in the military. So I think Maxime Bernier is kind of a sellout to some extent. He has a place in Florida and he lives in the States or whatever. But I was just curious to listen to him on Tucker Carlson. So I listened to most of it today. And it was interesting because he does call out all the things that most sane Canadians, Indigenous, white and blacks, obviously in some regard, are concerned about. And he calls us out and he was talking about this stuff. He's like, you don't have to be a Canadian citizen. You can join the military. And Tucker Carlson's like, well, that kind of seems like that's for a nefarious purpose, right? What do they plan to do with you guys? Because if the whole armed forces, the RCMP, the military, the cops are all these diverse hires that share nothing in common with us as a people, have actually been brainwashed and taught to hate us as a people, what do you think they're going to use all these foreigners to do? You think they're going to be there to look out for us?
Well, to be fair, there are other countries that do allow foreign people to join their military too, right? So it's kind of like
non-citizens.
Yeah, there are some countries that do that. Don't quote me. You can Google it right now. I think there's like 9 of the countries, not including the French Foreign Legion. But yeah, like when you swear the oath, it's to the God, King, and country, right? Like that's
the crown.
What it says right there, right in it, and to their heirs and all this other stuff.
Oh, they don't care.
No, and if you come over and people don't understand what your culture is, because we don't even know if we have a culture anymore, they're not going to have a clue. They're just going to fight for the paycheck.
I know, because of multiculturalism, we're a post-nationalist state. And I always point out on numerous videos about this that we do have a culture. It's been, yes, eroded to some extent, but we are a Eurocentric country. That's a fact. And at one point, the government did attempt to blend some of those with the indigenous culture, which I've always said, I think that the indigenous and the white Canadians and whether you be Asian or black, and your family's been here for generations, lost slaves, black slaves fled from America to come to Canada. All these people have been here for generations that adapted to the culture and became what a Canadian should be and is, we all need to stand up together. And there's tons of people noticing this, even some people that may, whether they be black or Asian, that have been here for a couple of generations, 2 or 3 generations, and they grew up, their family came here in the 60s. They're seeing this massive change. And of course it's because of Pierre Trudeau and stuff, but he's the one that really started the globalist agenda and the liberals changing the flag. And so
I don't think the melting pot ever really worked at all. I mean, even if you look back to our early history when it was like the colonies, that was a whole bunch of white people and natives, right? And look at it now, like Quebec is Quebec. Quebec is not Canada. Quebec. So like even within our ranks, we segregate ourselves, right? So how do we do a melting pot if we couldn't even do it amongst the European settlers, right?
Well, yeah, I know. And that's the idea, is like they were like Canada used to be this idea of like the Europeans came together and built a country. They treated the Irish a lot of times, sometimes worse than black people. And then eventually everyone kind of came together, put their differences aside. I don't care what people think about John A. Macdonald. He probably was involved with some of the globalist agenda even back then or whatever, but he's the one that wanted to build the railways to bring all the provinces together and build a unified nation. In a country is supposed to be like a family. You're supposed to take care of each other. It's supposed to be like a big family where we all are unified under a common heritage, homogeneity. That's how we're supposed to be. That's how countries are supposed to run. Multiculturalism is a cancer on the Western world. It's a failed experiment, right? So it is interesting once we start getting into some of these topics. And then I'm sure people probably think I'm some hateful, racist, bigot, but I couldn't care because like I will debate anybody on these topics because they can't dispute it. You can call me a racist, but you'll never call me a liar. So it's true. I believe India for Indians, okay? China for China, Chinese, well, Japan for the Japanese, Australia for,
all those countries are nationalist countries, and they're trying to do, and they are going to do it here. They're forcing nationalism here in Canada because we're like, fuck you, America. Yeah, no. If we end up not, and America wants to go nationalist, so like, where's the hypocrisy? Those countries are doing it. We're doing it. What's the difference? Well,
it's because it's funny you brought up like the it's the Masons and stuff like that. It always goes back to those with the tiny little hats on, the ones that are enforcing all of this stuff and have infiltrated every form of government. Like, it's a good point that people need to realize that, hey, if there was a bunch of Russians that were like in Congress, like you would be a little concerned, but you're like, oh, they all have dual citizens Israel. That's totally fine. That's hilarious.
There's not enough time to dig through all this. I'm telling you.
How many Jews have you thrown down the well? My brother brought that back up. He was like sending me the video, and I was like, I totally forgot about that. When Borat goes and says, "We throw the Jews down the well." So crazy. And that guy was Jewish. He made fun of that shit. And it's funny because he was making references to the fact that the Black Plague, there's others that they claim that they poisoned the water. Is that crazy?
I'm starting to think that you brought me on the show to be your token Jew ever since I did Ancestry.
Yeah, but you can't trust that. It's run by Jews.
Right?
It will say everyone is Jewish. Literally.
Do it.
If I did it
for the experiment.
I don't trust it. I will never give my DNA to them. I'm sure the police already have my DNA when I was arrested as a teenager. So I don't need them to have any more. No, thank you. So let's actually get into this. There's a clone of you walking out there somewhere, but he's Indian instead. So the countdown until the absolute disaster in 2030, world government emerges from the shadows. We are witnessing the implementation of a notorious globalist Agenda 2030, invented in the depths of the World Economic Forum, aimed at building a single globalist society of total control, dictate what people can do, where people will be poor and powerless, and the world will be in the hands of a transnationalist corporations, aka TNCs. This manifestation of it goes much deeper and broader process planned by the global elites, concentrated precisely within the framework of this by no means mythical and by no means it's a deep state, and they can clearly see it. It's interested to the extent well beyond the borders of any country, but the whole world. That's why people, when I've done videos recently about calling out what's going on in Canada, they're like, well, just move. I'm like, fucking where? It's a new world order. Are you deaf? Like, do you know what's going on yet? Or are you still like living in the shadows? Yes, wrong. It's blacks invented everything. Yes, it's true. Did Jews actually invent whiskey? Is that Jews invented whiskey to stop the Irish from taking over the world? That would be kind of I kind of like that.
Have you heard the new one that's been coming out there? Well, all these
Am I calling
wild
me
claims.
racist? What?
That Adrian, he'd enjoy this one. Some African American sects are now claiming to be like the true natives now. That
That's
first they
what.
were the true Jews, now they're the true natives.
Yeah.
I'm like, pick a
That's what me and
side, man.
Adrian were talking about, because Adrian, the realist, the indigenous guy I have on, that episode should be out by the time this one is on audio. We talked about this stuff, and I was like, he's done videos where they're like claiming we're the real natives, even though like there's obviously a fairly large population of indigenous that did migrate from Southeast Asia, most likely, but there probably was still people that were here for thousands of years. There's actually stories about wagas and stuff like that of white giants that indigenous encountered thousands of years ago. Who knows? Could have been some sort of Vikings. But he was calling that shit out too, because he's like, I'm like, it's so crazy that they're Egyptian, oh they're Jewish, oh they're indigenous. It's this idea that they've made up in their head that they like. No, sorry, go look at your country, man. Show me. Go to Africa, go build something. Go create what Europeans did, what the Chinese did, what the Japanese did. Show me that you have the ability to do that, and then maybe I'll start to believe it. But so far, Africa's been given billions upon billions upon billions of dollars, and it's all the same. They can't. I said this before. There's one guy, this Indian guy, that tried to troll me on TikTok, trying to make just videos of making fun of me and shit. I'm like, this guy's out of his tree, right? He's like, I have numerous burners accounts, and that's what he spends his time doing, I guess. And he was like, you guys have a housing crisis. I'm like, yeah, it's because of you people that come here. And there's Don Cherry coming out. These people that come here, and then, because the government's flooding them in, allowing anybody in. There's millions of people that are illegal that are here that people don't even know about. And he's like, you guys could build mud huts. And I'm like, we're not Indian, okay? We're not fucking African. We don't want to build mud huts. Sorry that you guys make houses out of shit. I don't want that. That's not a European thing to do, because Canada is founded and built upon European traditions, values, and customs. And it's so
Why do you
crazy.
think that is? Why do you think that is? Because I've found like we could tippy toe into like the 13th tribe territory, but even without going into that, like in like the Seven Fires prophecy stuff, they always talk about our culture being the one that had the fire or had technology or had the gift. And along all these cultures, it says the same thing. Why is that? Why do you think that if it's said to be true, we were the ones to create all these things and these other countries can't get them together? This is a conversation I've had often, and we can't get to the bottom of it.
It is strange, because according to people like Dustin Nemoys, we white people, specifically is those that come from Ireland, are the real Israelites. And they've the not my quote, his quote, the demon Jews, according to him, they've changed the Bible, they've manipulated things, and that we've invented like 97% of all inventions and stuff like that. It's because, like, and this is a fact, and you can all deny it, but this is very real. There is differences in the chemicals of our brains and the way that our brains are formed. It's a fact. They've done scientific studies on this. Black people have a totally different thought process in the way their brains think than white people do. Asians totally do. They've done studies on this and have proven that it is different. The same way, if somebody who's black needs to get a transplant for a bone or whatever, they have to use a black person, because our genetics are fucking different, people. There is differences between us. Sure, if we all come together under a common goal and unify under a common identity as a whole, as people that all value the same thing, it's possible that we could have a multicultural society. But the idea of multiculturalism in Canada was all the Europeans that blended together and made what we now know as a Canadian. But there is scientific fact that our brains are wired totally different.
That it makes you think that the book Enoch, like, if you put this, will piss a lot of people off, but like we the white people could be the descendants of the Nephilim. A lot of Christians wouldn't like to hear that.
I know.
Because it talks about the Watchers gave weapons, the Watchers gave knowledge, the Watchers gave this, and then they bred with the people here, and
Yeah.
we could be the descendants of it. And a lot of the stories track. gonna piss
I
a lot
know
of people off.
I've
But
heard about that, and I made jokes about that like white people are connected to like the reptilian aspect of things, because that's how you have the most psychopaths are like CEOs that are like white. But then I think that's something that maybe even sold to us, because when you look out, when you like zoom out the camera and stuff like that, there's psychopaths and all. Like they just
Mhm.
didn't get caught, you know what I mean? Or
Yep.
like there was more of them. Like, you know, serial killers are white. Have you researched the serial killers in India or even places in Asia? You know, upper Asia, not South Asia.
Mhm.
There's like they're everywhere in worse numbers and more psychotic, because I've looked into this stuff for the true crime episodes. You know, and it's like it's this idea that there was this focus, but I also believe that they used serial killers like Charles Manson, even he's a cult leader. They MK Ultra, they've done this to people. Even Eileen Warner said that she was under some sort of mind control and shit. Yeah, that is true. They even trace some of the Egyptian DNAs back to white people. Most whites, even Scottish records from the 1300s, say that they were sold into slavery out of Egypt. Like, yeah, there's some crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, dude.
So let's like George Soros wrote about this book, The Age of Error, seeing ahead of him an open world without borders and without a main state. In this world, that is, without the United States, the former World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, also reportedly spoke about this in his writings. He and Soros are talking heads, visible characters of the deep state. They are like the hosts of a TV program who read the text written for them from the teleprompter, pretending that this is all like, you know, that this all came from their heads, someone born from their heads. They have been given certain freedom of thought, but within the limits of these orders by them. On his own behalf, Klaus Schwab puts forward the theatrical basis of a future bright world, which actually is the fruit of indoctrination fantasies born not in the bowels of the WEF, but in the bowels of the deep state. But in the sense of this, there's no conspiracy has ever been published as this. Everything is already written. The whole world has already been warned about where these globalist elites are leading us. Theory above all else. Everything that is happening in the world now is what's in store for humanity and has been spelled out in the beautiful and streamlined words in the so-called Agenda 2030 developed in Davos. Blurring of national borders, dehumanizing of people, the creation of these weak-willed human population, imposing digital money and digitalization of everything and everywhere and everything, and most importantly, the digitalization of education for the sake of reducing the education level of people, consists of promotions of the idea of human vulnerability to pandemics and various diseases, and therefore creating an atmosphere of fear and death, which best platform for introducing the electronic control over people. Introduction of this idea of abandoning property and personal vehicles for the sake of the climate and, you know, the ecological bullshit, right? Reduction of the human population, euthanasia. Canada has now killed way like 70,000 people. More people have been killed because of medical assistance and dying than people died in World War II in Canada, from Canada. Forced the shot, I can't say it on YouTube, with dubious drugs that lead people to a loss of health, infertility, and even death. And now we see this in Canada. The leading cause of death from 18 to 24-year-olds in BC is drugs.
Well, it makes you ask, like, I don't think we're asking the right questions here. It's like, let's say that they did win and this is all true. Okay. What is the end game? What is the game plan? Number one. And number two, like in the initial video that you started when you started the stream, it said you don't even have the right to life. You have to somehow not be a useless breather and be able to contribute something. So in a society that's run like a rat experiment, because that's what it seems like it would end up being once there's a digital technocracy, if you're all a drone, then how would you even be able to create anything, right? Like it's almost the same argument for
The
the
Matrix,
spirit,
bro.
not just the Matrix, but even those people who go on the spiritual journeys, right? And they say they want to become one with the collective consciousness. Like it all very much the same. Is it just is that how they're going to brainwash
They
people into accepting it?
Yeah, they want this globe that I truly believe they want to become gods of the digital realm, where like you think of like Ready Player One and stuff like that. That's what they want, to control people. And then like the idea of even the point to live is the idea of like they will tell you when you can have kids, where you can go, what you can think, like essentially just mindless drones that are only there to feed the energy of maybe some of this stuff.
The archons, as the Gnostics called them, were said to be made from luminous fire. The jinn from Islamic and pre-Islamic Arabia was said to be made of smokeless fire. And when you look at what's said about, they're talking about the same force, the same phenomenon. So what is it? The Gnostics are very, very interesting. Gnostic coming from a word meaning knowledge. But whenever Gnostic thinkers showed any sign of getting their point across and circulating their knowledge and their beliefs, they were slaughtered. I mean, that is just a constant. The Cathars that were slaughtered in southern France, ending up on the castle of Montségur in 1244, they were Gnostic thinkers. The people that ran the great library of Alexandria with its 500,000 scrolls of ancient knowledge which the Roman Church destroyed, they were Gnostic thinkers. And as a result of this, very little Gnostic writing has made it through what we call history. But then in 1945, a place called Nag Hammadi in Egypt, a sealed jar of Gnostic writings was found hidden. And from that has come a fantastically greater understanding of what the Gnostics were talking about. These were mystics. They went out into other levels of reality. In many ways, we call them shaman today, many of them.
Crazy, eh?
You know,
David Icke's always been on point, man.
David Icke would have so much more credibility if he didn't declare himself Jesus way back in the day. That's like the one strike I have against him.
No, he wore a stupid like neon jumpsuit. He said that we're all like Jesus. He said that what he meant, and you can hear if you re-listen to it, is he meant that we were all connected to this. And the thing is, after all that, he was ridiculed. He has a documentary called Renegade. I've been trying to get him on the show, everybody. He's been on Reality Czars, my buddy's podcast. I'm really trying to get him on board. But it's just I gotta go through emails through his daughter and stuff like that. I'm really trying because I'm probably one of his biggest fans. You could ask Billy. Like I've been looking at researching, and then David Icke's the one that woke me up to like all of this stuff. And I was like 17, 16. And I was like, wow, well, like it blew my mind. I'll play one more clip of his.
The Gnostic stuff's nuts too, man, because
he
was talking about the loose rate there. As soon as you start reading into that, you do start to question everything.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Is that a good thing to sleep to? I've been listening to your stuff on Spotify before going to sleep. I don't know if that's a good idea, man. I don't believe that. I don't believe that David Icke is a Freemason. A lot of people want to discredit him. I don't believe that. People can believe what they want. I've been listening to him for a long time. I think he is actually someone who is really trying. Because with a lot of people point this the Hat Man stuff. That's funny. A lot of people have been pointing this out. Is like people like, that Alex Jones is for sure controlled opposition by Israel. Like I believe that for sure. I don't think David Icke is, but everyone points to this stuff. But these people still woke a lot of people up, awakened people to what was going on. You know what I mean? Like I without David Icke, I wouldn't be who I am today of the ways I think and stuff like that, because his content, what he was producing, I used to watch all of his talks that were like 8 hours long. He talks about things like the hollow moon, reptilians, the elites, the occult, the Freemasons, the Israel, all that stuff for decades and decades. And he's been pretty on point with everything he said. And it's like one of my favorite quotes by him is, if you understand the journey, you will know the outcome. Right? You know the outcome because you understand the journey. Is if you pay attention and you pay attention to what's going on, right? But
see, he could still be a front man though, because remember, like they still have to show you their hand. Like that's one of the rules. For some reason, it's like a cosmic rule that whatever's happening, they have to show their hand, whether it be in a tabloid or in front of you.
I personally know people have talked to him numerous times, so like I tend to sway towards that he's actually trying. So we'll play this one. to get his stuff out of the way.
They envy humans who have this creative imagination, this the ability to create. Like I say, they describe the Archons as cyborgs, a robotic race that can imitate but not innovate. They call it, in a translated word, counter-mimicry. Put simply, if you gave them a blank sheet of paper, they would know what to do with it. But you give them a sheet of paper rather with something on it, with something created on it, and they are able to distort it and twist it. But they can mimic and imitate, they cannot create in that sense. Interestingly, they also use the word fantasia. And in that sense, what they're saying is that these archons, jinn, different names, but I'll use the word archon as a consistent, have the ability to create fake realities, to distort reality, counter-mimicry, to give people the view or the feeling of a perception that seems real but isn't.
See, I still won't, like, that's not going to matter. I've been doing this longer than anybody that I personally know. And at the end of the day, right, like, I form my own opinions, and I think that not everybody has been gotten to. I'll never believe that. That's just a farce. They try to shut down people that are actually trying to, like people, like, at some point, people probably say, oh, this guy's control. They'll say it about me. They'll say it about everybody that they can that is actually trying to wake people up to this agenda, especially people that are Christians. Because I've watched a 2-hour thing that tries to debunk David Icke, and at the end he's like, "Well, I'm a Christian," da da da, and I'm like, "Oh, that's why. That's why, because you don't want to believe that the Gnostics and some of these people may have been right, And I lean towards Christianity in, like, how to treat people and stuff like that, but I also think the Bible was manufactured. It's the same thing as every book.
Well, Gnosticism started with Christianity too, right? So, like, they were known as the Christian sect of Christianity when it first came to be, and that's how all these questions started going out there, right?
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
I think at the end of it, like, if we're all supposed to be part of this collective consciousness or fucking digital hive mind or whatever it's going to be,
The 100 monkey theory, man.
well, the true gods are going to be the ones who do not plug into it, right? They're not going to plug into it,
No.
so why would you, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Being outside the matrix is freedom.
Yep. All this already has been published by globalists, partly in documents of the WEF, because they have to show you their hand, of course, documents of the UN, bureaucracies, subordinate to the WEF, partly, like, obviously the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, the fight against future pandemics, which Canada, as Carney's bought onto that stuff, they will control mostly Canada during a pandemic. The agreement to accelerate the implementation of Agenda 2030 was signed last May by Klaus Schwab and the UN Secretary General Antino Guterres. An Agenda 2030 is part of the initiative known as the Fourth Industrial Revolution, presented by Klaus Schwab in Davos in the forum in 2015. Schwab developed his ideas about this revolution of the Great Reset, the initiative, which was presented in 2020 as a way out of the global economic crisis caused by the pandemic. It's not a pin. The true essence of the 2030 Agenda, hidden behind the fog of fine phrases, is the creation of a global sharing economy, a system of total worldwide centralized power that affects all aspects of human life. Schwab writes that the fourth industrial revolution will change not only what we do, but who we are. It will affect our identity and and all the issues associated with it, our sense of privacy, our ideas about property, communism, our consumptional patterns, the time we devote to work and play, how we develop our careers. That's it. He does not hide the fact that the globalists intend on coming into our private lives to change it. And the thing is, too, they're going to manufacture crisis, as I say all the time on the show, to develop these plans to bring the country to its knees. It's going to happen in Canada. Watch everybody. You're going to see it happen. And the thing is, too, they need to destroy the old world to bring in the new world, much like they did during World War I and II. You had all these beautiful architecture, like, that was built by Europeans or who knows what, right? The idea of Tartaria, which eventually I'd like to dive into at some point, like, all that stuff, right? So, like, and then there's someone, I watched a video, someone making a point of the idea that they used World War I and II to destroy all of the, the architecture in these countries that were existing for a long time. And then the idea of the bells, they're all around the towns and cities. because when they went off, it would give a vibrational healing energy to everybody around it, right? And then it warded off like evil spirits and stuff, right?
Yep. No, there's a lot to that. That'd be a fun one to
I don't
jump
know who
into.
that is, man. I have no idea who Nate and Connie is. Are you talking about like a reality czar? Is that what Nate was doing last night? I don't know who Connie. Oh, I know who you're talking about. That fucking racist. Just kidding. There's that guy. What does Connie call himself again? It's like calls himself like Hitler or something like that. Adolf. What's up, man? I know people. Yeah, I know people are like clicking random links. Yeah, it is interesting. So I guess, oh, that's so funny. Oh, you found me from Reality Stars. That's cool. I appreciate that. That's cool that Nate was talking about that last night. Everyone's trying to Adolf Schittler is what Connie calls himself. I was like, who the fuck is that? I'm like, oh yeah, I've literally been on streams with them. I wish I joined. I was on stream with them making fun of Schindler's List. I didn't get to join the whole time because they're like their time difference or whatever, but like I was like, oh, I've never seen the movie, so it was like actually kind of funny to make fun of.
You haven't seen that yet?
We watched most of it. It's kind of boring.
It's a long movie.
I know.
It's long.
It's propaganda, right? Look at these shoes. Play a sad violin next to all these fucking shoes. So the world will no longer be the same. Capitalism will take a different form and will completely new types of properties in addition to private and public. The largest multinational companies will pretty much resume and more social responsibilities. They will participate more actively in public life and bear responsibility for the common good. And if these corporations and transnational, if they take on this social responsibility, I feel like Dr. Evil, social responsibility, then they're talking about the whole world, not only about a single area of Manhattan. In fact, these plans for building an economy brought to the ugly minimalism is done not to provide any rights for ordinary people. In general, as a globalist, they assume these things. Nothing will be privately owned by people. They announced this in the WEF meeting in 2016, in parallel in an article by the Danish politician Ida Auken, who was presented as a young globalist leader, much like faggot Trudeau was, and members of the WEF Global Future Council on Cities and Urbanization. Schwab and other global elites dream of a commune-based society in which people live in housing with shared kitchens, shared bathrooms, and little to no privacy. I wonder why they're bringing all the Indians. All real estate would be rented and borrowed, and all goods would become services. So crazy, man.
How do you rent socks?
You gotta share socks, man. And the idea of like this idea of small form communism to some extent could work, but it's not like sharing absolutely everything. It's like the idea of like, well, you have like, and this is not really communism. This is like nationalism, bring people together. Is like, oh, you have chickens. This is what people need to go towards. You know, if I had chickens, I do want chickens at some point. And the next person has a cow, and then somebody else has pigs, and then you share. You wouldn't need the government. They've taken
Communism
all of
only
that
works
away from us.
Yeah, communism only works at the neighborhood level. That's how we evolved. We evolved out of communism into a better thing.
I actually think because he's saying, oh, the whole COVID shit is a myth. I actually think it was, not gonna lie. I think it was fake. I think it was the flu. I don't believe that it existed at all. That's just my opinion. I really don't. I think that they just tricked everybody.
We'll find out. I got one shot, so we'll see if I mutate on your show live.
That's crazy. So here, this is an artist I've always liked. He's taken no shit, left record companies. Diabolic is probably one of the best rappers out there when it comes to exposing this agenda. And he's literally risked his life for some of this stuff and been exposing this for a long time. A lot of people are aware of Immoral Technique. Him and Immoral Technique had beef because Diabolic does not give a fuck, and he will call it everybody.
Another thing you largely focus in your lyrics is the New World Order. Many people who talk about it are labeled conspiracy theorists and so on. So why is it important for you to keep bringing attention to it, and what is it for those who don't know?
First of all, I think it's already here. I get a lot of people asking me, when's it going to happen? I think it came with a smile years ago. From the research I've done, basically, they're trying to usher in a one-world government. where everybody is lumped into one category and there's one power that holds all the power. I mean, you can see it already starting in Europe. Like, firsthand, they got the euro now. They start with the money.
Why is that bad?
How do you check them? Who's there to check them? If there's one guy that runs the whole show, or a panel of guys that run the whole show, we're basically going to be living in a corporation worldwide.
But many people are saying the U.S. is already a corporation and that the government can't be checked either way, if it's one big global government or if it's the U.S. government. So what's the difference there?
I mean, right now there's another country. You got China. I mean, there's countless countries out there who do not like us. They can't stand us because of our world policy and the things we do to other people.
Are you saying that's good?
I think that's very good.
Do you mean that creates some sort of balance?
Definitely. I think it's necessary. If you take that away and there's a one world government, there's no enemies. There's just them. They run the show and we're the enemy. Looking up at them, trying to fight, it's like throwing stones in a gunfight, you know?
Are the people scared right now?
I think so. I think everybody's scared right now. They're not spending money. Look at the economy. It's a mess. It's a complete mess. Everybody's in debt. You can't make enough to live. It's just going to get worse. And I mean, do people really think that wasn't doctored up by our government? Like they had no hand in any of this?
You think they did?
Absolutely. The banks were failing. What they did? They handed the banks billions of dollars. They handed them, bailed them out. None of that money went back into the system, and nobody went back to check them for it. It just happened. They basically handed them big bonuses to keep their pockets padded. Never went back to the people where it was supposed to go. They let the people rot and let the bankers get rich.
It's so crazy, dude. He said that like 15 fucking years ago. That clip is really old. Diabolic's the shit, dude. I would love to get him on the show. I actually should try. I've never tried. I should talk to him. Guy's wild.
Have you tried Tom McDonald at all?
He's too big to come on. I actually like Tom McDonald. His music, some of it's fucking horrible in my opinion. But like he's also he's fake, right? He used that to make money. I heard during COVID he was hiding in his house with a mask on. Like he was part of, oh yeah. It's crazy. I've heard some stuff about him because I used to like Mac Lethal, but Mac Lethal also is kind of a boot kisser, and they dissed each other. And then there's a guy named Upchurch, and Upchurch dissed him and was like, man, I heard you were just scared in your house, man. So pretty wild. Diabolic is a real one. And it's like, I should share that on my Instagram. If you guys are watching, you can look up Raptilian X on Instagram. Also the Raptilian. I have 2 accounts because one is super shadow banned. But for everybody listening, if you ever want to follow me on Instagram, I'm posting a lot of shit. So it's interesting because you start to see this stuff break down, and I might as well play one more clip. This is the second. I should have 3 of these, but I couldn't find the last one. But this also has from that doc that I played at the beginning.
The question of whether God or Satan even exist has been fiercely debated since the beginning of debates. Some people believe that God and Satan are inventions of the ruling class to control the masses. Most people acknowledge the existence of positive creative energy characterized by joy, love, and vitality, and the existence of negative destructive energy characterized by greed, hatred, and death. The triumph of evil in the world today is based on the ability of evil to disguise itself as its opposite and fool the masses. How many people would be willing to play a game of Monopoly with real money if the banker was making up the rules, rigging the dice, stealing the money, cheating the players, and grabbing up all the properties? The answer is almost everybody. The truth is that only 1% of the world's population of over 6 billion people is controlling the other 99%. That 1% owns the world's banks and most of the world's wealth, land, and resources. So why is everybody passively cooperating with this madness? Because the wealthy 1% who write the rules have taught the other 99% to obey them and to feel powerless to change things. When people feel powerless, they cling to passive attitudes, like ignorance is bliss, things aren't that bad, or let God take care of everything. Before choosing a passive attitude, remember that the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing.
Yep.
You nailed
Literally
it.
happening.
Nailed it.
Yeah, so the deep state and those specific characters who never shine in Forbes lists or of the richest people on the planet, but who are they? Would we repeat that such characters as Soros, and Schwab are just talking heads? They're just part of their own pride or whatever. Who assign these roles? They're just mouthpieces of the deep state. Gives the target destinations. All of them are just anyone that you see is a like a figurehead. They're not gonna. The people that are really controlling this stuff are not going to show themselves or show their hand, right? So
Everybody on TV, buddy. Everybody on TV. They're
everybody.
all just actors, man.
Yep.
Everything.
It's like the world is a stage, and most people don't want to come to grips with this stuff. The real theorists are of the truly satanic plans for humanity never appear on television, never publish their own books. Everything they wanted to say in these books, they use Soros and Schwab. They do it through them, right? The question of whether there's some kind of hidden power in the world and whose hands the threads from the management of everything are subject of the newspaper discussion in America in the 70s and 80s of the past century. There's been discussions in a still popular book of political sciences, Leonard Silk and Mark Silk, The American Establishment, in which authors, father and son, set themselves the task of understanding the mechanisms of the government decision making in the United States. That sounds like a good book, man. The authors of The American Establishment revealed to the world that the 5 largest institutions that govern America. According to them, these Harvard University, the New York Times, the Ford Foundation, and the Brooklyn Institution think tanks, and the Council on Foreign Relations, a private structure that de facto determines U.S. foreign policies. Yep. The Council of Foreign Relations have close ties with the Notorious Trilateral Commission, which is a kind of club that brings together the largest bankers and entrepreneurs, leading politicians, and aims to search for a solution to the world's problems. Pretty crazy because that's like a fact, like all of that stuff. And I have articles about all of this stuff. The Trilateral Commission, the Committee 300, all of that stuff will actually cover the Jason Group. I want to start digging my feet into some of that stuff because there's a lot to it. I've said before, like I have a whole month if I want to do on communism. It's all written out. It's all structured in each step of each country. So there's a lot to this stuff that people don't understand.
Everything seems to be converging the more I look into this, the more I see it, like everything's coming down to the same talking points at the very end of the day. And it's just a matter of if people are going to see it for themselves or not. Everything points down to, from psychedelics to religion to everything down to like this decision that's going to have to be made at the Illuminati. It always seems like there's a choice that's going to have to be made by all of us. Now, whether that's the choice for Canada, whether to speak Mandarin or United States is yet to be determined, right? But something's coming regardless.
It's crazy. So if you want to know how bad Canada is, I'll play this clip. I apologize for fucking Pierre being in this clip. He is a globalist retard. So.
But if you went to Canada today, you might be shocked by what you find.
Canada has turned into a dystopian nightmare.
The universal healthcare system is collapsing.
Is that Canada's medical system is an absolute joke.
The country is tired of Justin Trudeau, tired of his government.
That Canada's actually becoming a more dangerous place to live.
We have never been weaker in foreign affairs in the last 70 years than we are now.
Our country is falling to pieces.
I think the rest of the world's image of Canada has tumbled enormously.
The government is tied to globalist entities like the WEF. And
it's disgusting that the Liberals would ask people to serve their country in the most dangerous way without giving them the adequate equipment.
Canada is just too woke, and it's getting more woke every single day.
Owing as much money, actually more money, than the entire value of Canada's GDP.
Trudeau's policies have unleashed make this country unlivable.
It's just too expensive to live here.
Canada is falling apart.
Is this the end of Justin Trudeau?
Pierre's a weak parasite. There's so many things he could have said You know what I mean? Like, it's so crazy. So many things he could have said and done. He's weak, pathetic. He had the perfect. You could have said, Carney, why are you fucking hanging around with a pedophile? You fucking weird fucking creature. Didn't say any of that. Didn't bring up national. Nothing, man. He doesn't care. He was all part of it. There's so many talking points he could have used, but he decided to speak in fucking Hindi or fucking Punjab and wear a stupid turban on his head and cater to people who don't belong in this country. Never will. Never should have been here. Never should have been let in this country. You know,
Well,
so,
they can't call each other out for being pedophiles. Come on now, the House of Cards would collapse.
yeah,
They're all in on it. They're all in on it.
that's very true. That's actually what Jeremy McKenzie brought up, where he's like, yeah, but they won't say anything because it's a big club, right? Like, they're not going to call each other out on this stuff. So the deep state consists of a decent group of individuals who are distinguished by serious analytical and forecasting abilities, are the masters of money. In the person of the Fed leaders are the largest New York Wall Street bankers, as well as the owner of the TNC, as we talked earlier, have enormous power. From various sources, you can dig up from some information about these personal compositions of the deep state. So finances are commanded by the families that create the Federal Reserve System. These are very master of the money. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, all this stuff will be covered on the show at some point. Among these families, the Rockefellers stand out. In particular, they stood at the origins of the creation of the Club of Rome, which held its first meeting in their family's estate in Italy, in the Pocatona Hills. Complex became their family nest. I've already mentioned the Trilateral Commission. These families do not just rule with the financial flows. They also own the largest TNCs, all these corporations. It is difficult for an uninitiated person to find ends in the interweaving of the banking and in the industrial capital. To understand that the worldwide scope of these interests of the Rockefeller clans, you can give the names of some of these companies that are under his control. There's the Enox, Mobil, Chevron, Texaco, BP, Arcamo, Marathon Oil, Freeport, McMoran, Quaker Oats, ASARCO, United, Delta, Northwest, ITT, International Harvester, Xerox, Boeing, Westinghouse, Hewlett Packard, Pfizer, Motorola, Monsanto's, General Foods, and many others. They control all of these companies that give us our food, poison our water, all that stuff.
There was a YouTube video I saw that, and it like broke everything down into blocks, and it showed how the monopoly worked, and it was overall like and it was like BlackRock, like massive over everything.
Look at this. So the Great Reset, the plan for the New World Order, medieval feudalism. You at the top, you have the queens, emperors, empresses, ruled by their heritage and privilege, fear and force. Global financiers, billionaires will make important decisions, control most of the globe's assets and finances, ruled by inherent wealth, fear, and manipulation. Aristocracy, you have the lords, the dukes, the earls, the barons, which is collapsing, which is almost coming more towards a technocracy.
They're just reversing the Magna Carta with this. That's all they want to do, is to just get rid of the Magna Carta and go back to how it was. That's exactly what they're trying to do with the digital world.
And it kind of stems from the reptilian aspects of things if people dig deep enough into that. And then you have, obviously, then it goes to the CEOs and top executive elites that will control the financial system, and the requirements. And then you'll have the clergy and the papacy, or whatever the hell the fucking pronounce that word. The priest, the papal dogma, indoctrinated faithful, persecute and banish heretics and dissenters. Burn the witches. And then you have corporations, in big tech, corporate media, preach globalist dogma, indoctrinate the masses, censor dissenting information, suppress speech, ban and deplatform heretics and dissenters. This is all happening literally right now. And then they obviously label them as conspiracy theorists and far right, enforce control of a royal and aristocracy clergy through the military force, which will go on crusades to protect the king's interests. Interesting stuff already happened. National governments become local enforcers of the global policies. Elections largely are just theatrical. States actively track, monitor, and control nano-chipped citizens 24/7 and apply restrictive laws and regulations regulations. Everyone else, do the hard work, peasants, labor, slaves, conscripts, own nothing, do all the hard work, not done by robots, algorithms, or artificial intelligence that are not done by all these things, right? Chipped, tracked, closely monitored, 24/7, living socially distanced, because obviously that would, humans need to be close together, dehumanized, virtual lives, eating artificial foods, will own little to nothing, but be forced to rent properties and goods to live, literally rent goods, cannot access services without a valid health passport, genetically modified for obedience and population control. And that's what me and Dustin Nemoys was talking about, this idea of like the GMO people, Ah, man, so crazy. Dun, dun, dun,
We lost it.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, that chart, if you just take out the middle section and replace that with robots, then that's probably exactly what it's going to be, right? Because you're not going to have a class session of people policing anymore. Just get rid of that. You're going to have robots in there where the knights and archers and police are, and there's your divide.
Oh yeah,
right?
look at the robot dogs and stuff, man. It's like crazy.
Oh, have you seen? They've mounted them with machine guns. Finally, they finally got to that point, and they can swim in water and everything, man. Like, there's no getting away from Skynet. You're done.
Yeah, that's why people need to rise up now, but they won't. So, this idea
You don't have guns.
Yeah,
you don't have guns in Canada.
I know. Well, there's a lot of people that still do, but what happens when they come for them? Actually, because there's
Buckshot's not doing shit to a robot, man.
Yeah. Well, I've heard that there's certain plates in the robots that you can. There's certain ways to get to it, but they're gonna make them obviously more and more intelligent and more the ability of defense and stuff like that. So this was an interesting clip. I downloaded this a while ago. I can't remember what it said, but we'll play it because I brought a bunch of clips to kind of break down some of this agenda and the clips that I had saved up for a long time because I just save a bunch of stuff. So let's hear this.
A part of that plan, of course, is to induce the gradual surrender of American sovereignty, piece by piece and step by step, to various international organizations, of which the United Nations is the outstanding but far from the only example. Now, here are the aims for the United States. 1, greatly expanded government spending for every conceivable means of getting rid of ever larger sums of American money as wastefully as possible. 2, higher and then much higher taxes. 3, an increasingly unbalanced budget despite the higher taxes. 4, wild inflation of our currency. 5, government controls of prices, wages, and materials, supposedly to combat inflation. 6, greatly increased socialistic controls over every operation of our economy and every activity of our daily lives. This is to be accompanied naturally and automatically by a correspondingly huge increase in the size of our bureaucracy and in both the cost and reach of our domestic government. 7, far more centralization of power in Washington and the practical elimination of our state lines. There is a many-faceted drive at work to have our state lines eventually mean no more within the nation than our county lines do now within the states. 8, the steady advance of federal aid to and control over our educational system, leading to complete federalization of our public education. 9, a constant hammering into the American consciousness of the horror of modern warfare, the beauties and the absolute necessity of peace. Peace always on communist terms, of course. And 10, the consequent willingness of the American people to allow the steps of appeasement by our government, which amount to a piecemeal surrender of the rest of the free world and of the United States itself. So brush the insider's dust out of your eyes, my friends, and the communist soap suds out of your brain, and ask yourselves in all honesty, What on earth is wrong with the United States simply minding its own business?
Crazy. That clip is from 1958. And literally everything that he said has pretty much come true.
There's a couple clips after that too that I've seen that echo almost the exact same sentiment.
Dude, it's so wild. Like, people don't understand what we're headed towards.
Problem is with technology today, everyone's just going to call that stuff a deep fake now or pull it up unless we have the stuff backed up and saved somewhere offline. Like, people are just going to say it's made up. Like,
well,
that's
they can
the
do that.
unfortunate part of-
Yeah, they can do that until the boot's on their neck. Like, all these leftists that are like trying to like think that this is for their own benefit. So many people, like someone in the chat said, like this idea of like thinking that politics like politicians and politics is real is like thinking wrestling is real. Like, it's all fake. The world is a stage. They're fake, and like I think it's like 70-80% of the population is pretty much irreversibly dumb. Like, they're not going to come away from this. That's why I'm like, my wife's like, you got to phrase things differently. You got to capture more people and not be so like blunt about things. And I'm like, it's too late, man. Those people are not worth it. I'm here to collectivize and bring people together that are aware of what's going on, because it will be us fighting against this and the people that are actually prepared.
As subjective as it sounds, like I was surprised when I looked up recently the Canadian IQ, like for the average for Canada, and it's only 100. I was like, seriously, like it's that low? Like,
it used to be higher until they flooded people from India. Imagine like we have like, I don't know, like 106 IQ. Most Europeans, I think, is something around those lines, maybe a little higher, maybe a little less. And then you bring in a bunch of people with 65, 68, 74 IQ, and it brings it down. Like, there is places in Africa, okay, and it's not to disparage African people, but it's just because of where they grew up and the environment that they're raised in some regard. But like, there's like places like that have like 63, 65 IQ. That's less than a gorilla. That's like, gorillas are smarter. Monkeys are literally smarter. And that's like so crazy. People don't want, you can literally look it up. It's a fact. So one of the most famous members of the Klan of these people, Nelson Rockefeller, who was the vice president of the United States in 1973 to 1977, in an interview with Playboy magazine, outlines the decree of his family as follows. I really believe in planning, economy, social and political, military, worldwide planning. So we're definitely at the doorstep, and it is the countdown to Agenda 2030. So I got some clips to fly through. So, more.
It's been shown that British intelligence and the CIA were experimenting with LSD long before it was unleashed on the young in the 60s. And if people think it's far-fetched, then you just got to look at what the British did through the East India Company to the Chinese. When they wanted to exploit and control the Chinese, what did they do? They tried to get them hooked on opium. Same principle. They want to break the spirit of the young in every way they can to stop them thinking, expressing their individuality, and realizing their true and infinite potential. One other aspect of this New World Order conspiracy is the desire for a microchipped population. Population that would be effectively linked to a computer. Now, this is kind of takes two forms. So suddenly we're under the control at that point of a computer deciding whether we are going to have the things that we need or not. There is a plan to bounce public opinion into accepting babies being microchipped at birth in the same process their way to be microchipped. Because, I mean, you're talking about that long just to put one under the skin. And an article by a guy called Dr. Carl Sanders, who is a highly acclaimed electronics engineer in America. And he was developing a microchip to help spinal injury patients. And he said in this article that at some point, this project was taken over by what he described as the One World Brigade. And he said he attended about 17 meetings, some in America, some in Europe, which were discussing how this microchip could be turned into a form of identification linked to a computer. And guess who attended the meetings? Henry Kissinger. gets everywhere, Henry. The Illuminati agents within British intelligence and the CIA and other major global security services control the world market in illegal drugs. The CIA's involved and others' involvement in drugs is that they know that a drugged up, screwed up young generation is so much easier to manipulate than one which is aware of its infinite potential.
Man, I don't even care. David's always been on point. 1994, dude, he was calling this stuff out.
I told you, I buy everything he says up until the I'm Jesus thing. I'm with him.
He was talking about how we're all like Jesus. We're all connected to God. That's
Christ consciousness. That's spiritual shit.
I know. That's what he was claiming, but it's so funny he's getting ridiculed for that shit. It's so wild.
You also know that's Kabbalism, though.
I know. Of course, right? Like all that stuff. Like I'm sure as he went down this rabbit hole, there's so many different avenues to take, right, when it comes to that stuff and where it can lead you. It can lead you right to Christianity and being religious, or it can lead you to Gnosticism and a bunch of other stuff, like, right? And that's why I've always questioned everything. I've sat on the fence, and despite what people may think of me, I do have love for all people, no matter who you are, where you come from. But I just care about my own people and what's happening to them more over than anybody else, because I can't stop what's happening on the other side of the world. Like I don't like what's going on in Palestine. I don't like what the Israelis are doing, and they've been doing for a long time. But these protests that are happening in Canada, in Ottawa, taking over the streets and doing worse than what the convoy did, assaulting people, all sorts of stuff that have been done at those protests. They're not doing anything. Those protests are doing absolutely fucking nothing. They have not saved one single life, not one. They've actually probably destroyed more by inflicting the stuff on people in the city. Oh, and I loved how all the liberals were like during the convoy, were like, don't these people have jobs? Don't you motherfuckers have jobs? Or are you all on welfare, living off the system that you want to benefit only you? Because that's always said, these people don't have jobs. They were fired from their jobs after they wouldn't take a medical experiment that all of you took that does brain damage, man. The more shots that you take, it actually causes brain damage in the frontal lobe of your brain.
Well, you know, that I always found that shit funny too. It's just like, you don't have a job, but that's why they're voting for it, right? Like they're essentially voting for you to don't take any money out of my kid's mouth. It's like, well, you're taking the money out of my pocket, so fuck you, right? Like, it's
welfare shouldn't exist, especially for immigrants. For people that
welfare should be like EI only. EI only.
It ends at some point, right? Like that's what needs to like. People have been there's like 75% of Syrian refugees that came here after that. And I called that out back then, man, 2017 or whatever. I remember a chick yelling at me at work when I was at the bar, and I was like, all this shit's fake. I'm sick. Like I was like, they're flooding in military age men. And she's like, I'm sick of seeing the babies wash up on shore, which was fucking absolutely fake. It wasn't real. They used one image from God knows where and said that was the Syrian refugee shit. And I called that stuff out then because I was listening to a lot of Alex Jones at that point, right? I was like, my chef would let me listen to it, and one girl is like, I don't like this. He needs to stop listening to this far right stuff. And my chef's like, go back out and do your job. You're not supposed to be in the kitchen.
If you talk to any first responder, you're gonna start like seeing them. Like, you wonder why cops snap and shit, right? Because they see the shit every fucking day.
Yeah,
and a lot of these voters don't have a clue. Everyone's so blinded with their phone or their fucking Gilmore Girls coffee and all that other bullshit. Like, maybe we do need a big shake up, because it's like they said, good times make weak men, and maybe we need someone to come drop the hammer and wake people up. That might be what
it's gonna happen, dude. Mark Carney's gonna do it, dude. Just wait. You know, all these boomers that voted for him, he's coming after your property, the property that you've paid for and earned, because you don't really own your property because you have to pay property tax, but they want to take equity from your home. If your home is worth $1 million, they want to tax like 5%, which is thousands upon thousands of dollars. They want to take it. They're coming after you, man. Everybody.
They didn't anticipate the boomers to live as long as they've been living. That's one of the biggest problems, because that's where all the wealth is locked up, right? And it's just like you said back in the beginning video, no right to inheritance. That's what they're gonna fucking do, because that's where it's at. They're gonna tax it to death, or they're gonna
there's an inheritance tax, and that's the only hope that the generation, my generation, the younger generation has, is when their parents die, they'll be able to take over the properties because nobody can afford a home. And that's their only hope. And then that's why they're coming after that. And the boomers don't even realize that. You're trying to create generational wealth. That's not going to matter when they tax you to oblivion. You think you're going to retire off of your home and all that stuff. No, you're not. They're going to come after you. This is communism 101. These people don't even know what they voted for. They're gone. And elbows up, you fucking turkey ass retards. Like, it's so crazy. People don't know what the hell they're doing to themselves in their future. And you know, and I'll play this since we're talking about the youth. This kid kills it.
22 breaking knuckles by the hour, and I can't afford the groceries. So what's my fucking chance of owning houses after car bills and toiletries? Even the price of milk has risen so damn much, and my wages haven't changed in half a decade. It's causing me a headache, living off the liquor till I'm traveling medicated till I'm dead weight. 22 breaking knuckles by the hour, and I can't afford to pay my rent. The dreams I had all vanished by the hour. I'm thinking, wonder, is there something else? Instead of muddy boots and drinking whiskey till I'm sick, and my lady says she's leaving on the next train, said I'm a broken stress case, and they wonder why I was sick of living, putting guns against our heads. I don't think that anybody's listening when I say that I've been struggling, and if they did, I don't think they would give a shit, and by the time they do, it's too late. So go ahead and post my picture when I'm dead and gone, and talk about how much you wish I would have reached out. Suddenly they see now everybody was your best friend when you're 6 feet in the fucking ground.
So good, dude. Explains it perfectly well. The youth is going through, man.
Yep.
So crazy. Yeah, it's we're headed towards a dark direction. It's gonna get bad. I have a couple more clips. This is interesting because I'm not a fan of feminism. It was created by communists. I think that, yeah, women should have a right to work if they wish. But I'm a more in the point of view that, you know, there's a hierarchy. You know, men should work. We should be out. At least we should be able to be in a place in society where one person can go to work and they can be able to afford to raise a family of 4 on one income. It used to be like that until the Jewish banking system took over in full force. You know, this was possible. They did it in the 40s, 50s, 60s, almost into the 70s. You know, so it's quite possible. And this clip, I don't know what movie this is from. I've had this for so long. It pointed out so well of like this kind of fake feminist ideology that they pushed on people, which was all controlled by Jewish people. All of it, all of the people behind the feminist movement were Jewish. You know, and the idea before was like, we need a right to vote. The idea mostly, like, individuals should have had the right to vote, whether they be male or female. But the idea is you voted as a household. It was a vote from that household. So if you didn't agree with what your wife voted for, why are you with her? You should be aligned in that, you know what I mean, politically. So check this out.
A threat to the traditional American family, a threat that is just as dangerous and even more insidious. The threat of the women's liberation movement. Let me be clear. I am not against women succeeding. I am not against women working outside the home. That's their choice. But what I am against is a small elitist group of Northeastern establishment liberals putting down homemakers. Now, the libers love to say that they're dedicated to choice. But if you dare to choose the path of full-time mother, well, there must be something wrong with you. I mean, if you don't feel enslaved, well, you're just dumb and unenlightened. In fact, you're not even a person. Because you see, the women's liberation movement is basically a very negative attitude toward life. It tells women, sister, the cards are stacked against you. When you wake up in the morning, you won't get a job. And if you do, it won't be a good one. And if you get a good one, you won't get promoted. And if you get married, your husband will treat you like a servant. And marriage is just a lot of dirty diapers and dirty dishes. But don't take my word for it. But it is not enough that they're demeaning us in the press. Oh no. Now they want to use our miraculous Constitution to create a sex-neutral society through this so-called Equal Rights Amendment, which will mean that that baby girl will be drafted and the men will be at home nursing the babies. I mean, can you imagine if Buck was left in charge of your children? Oh, God help us. Yes, that's right. It's ridiculous, and it's downright un-American. Because women are the primary caregivers in the home because we bear the children. And if the liberationists have a problem with that, they're going to have to take it up with God. Because what is going to happen if you push women out into the workforce is that women are going to find themselves with 2 full-time jobs. And they're going to be exhausted and unhappy and feel like they're not doing either well until eventually they decide not to have children at all. Maybe that's the liberationist goal. I mean, after all, their hero is Gloria Steinem, a single, childless woman nearing 40, but she is the sort of miserable, pathetic woman they aspire to be. She wants some kind of constitutional cure for her personal problems. And perhaps that is why the liberationists are trying to sow these seeds of discontent among we happily married women. They want us to join them in some new sisterhood of frustrated togetherness, because none of them can find a man who wants to marry them.
How fucking true is that shit, you know? And most people will only women, like, you have to understand that that's like the right on facts, man. Yeah, blur the lines of sexes. They do that through transgenderism, and there is no difference in the melting pot. Obviously, everyone's the same. No gender, no race, no culture, right? And that's how they take control, man. That's literally
Blank
what's
slate.
happening.
Blank slate.
Yeah, so
and it's funny when they mentioned the draft. I said this a year ago. I was like, transgenderism is going to not give you an excuse to not have it be in the draft now. Like,
I know they're all
voted for it. Congratulations.
I know, it's true. Yes, that chick from American Horror Story. They're all libtards. Every actor is a liberal, right? I don't know what movie
They've
that's
all sold their soul. Everybody you see on TV in a hit show has sold their soul. Full stop.
Yes, 100%. And they've done some shitty ass stuff. I don't know what movie that's from, but I have a feeling that they're phrasing that as like they're showing you a side of that side of it, and then they'll show in the movie some other side that it's a good thing that they're working and all that stuff, right? That's always how Hollywood does it. It's owned by Jews. You know, it's crazy, dude. And that's such a good clip. I've always wanted to. Yeah, I've always wanted to play it. So I'll have to post on my Instagram. I'm gonna start posting some of these clips on the Instagram. So, you know, if people like, here's another clip I wanted to show from another, I think it's from an old show, and it breaks down perfectly kind of what's going on. And it's so crazy that some of these shows and movies that have been around since the 60s, 70s that clearly point towards where we are now.
We are bored. We're all bored now. But has it ever occurred to you, Wally, that the process that creates this boredom that we see in the world now may very well be a self-perpetuating, unconscious form of brainwashing created by a world totalitarian government based on money, and that all of this is much more dangerous than one thinks, and it's not just a question of individual survival, Wally, but that somebody who's bored is asleep, and somebody who's asleep will not say no? See, I keep meeting these people. I mean, just a few days ago, I met this man whom I greatly admire. He's a Swedish physicist, Gustav Bjornstrand, and he told me that he no longer watches television, he doesn't read newspapers, and he doesn't read magazines. He's completely cut them out of his life because he really does feel that we're living in some kind of Orwellian nightmare now, and that everything that you hear now contributes to turning you into a robot. And when I was at Findhorn, I met this extraordinary English tree expert who had devoted his life to saving trees. Just got back from Washington, lobbying to save the redwoods. He's 84 years old. He always travels with a backpack because he never knows where he's going to be tomorrow. And when I met him at Findhorn, he said to me, "Where are you from?" And I said, "New York." He said, "New York, yes, that's a very interesting place. Do you know a lot of New Yorkers who keep talking about the fact that they want to leave but never do?" And I said, "Oh, yes." And he said, "Why do you think they don't leave?" I gave him different banal theories. He said, "Oh, I don't think it's that way at all." He said, "I think that New York is the new model for the new concentration camp, where the camp has been built by the inmates themselves, and the inmates are the guards, and they have this pride in this thing they've built. They've built their own prison, and so they exist in a state of schizophrenia, where they are both guards and prisoners, and as a result, they no longer have, having been lobotomized, the capacity to leave the prison they've made, or to even see it as a prison." And then he went into his pocket and he took out a seed for a tree and he said, "This is a pine tree." He put it in my hand and he said, "Escape before it's too late." See, actually for 2 or 3 years now, Chiquita and I have had this very unpleasant feeling that we really should get out. And we'd really feel like Jews in Germany in the late 30s. Get out of here. Of course, the problem is where to go, because it seems quite obvious that the whole world is going in the same direction. See, I think it's quite possible that the 1960s represented the last burst of the human being before he was extinguished. And that this is the beginning of the rest of the future now, that from now on there'll simply be all these robots walking around, feeling nothing, thinking nothing. And there'll be nobody left almost to remind them that there once was a species called a human being, with feelings and thoughts, and that history and memory are right now being erased, and soon nobody will.
And the interesting, that's one thing he's wrong about is the 60s. The 60s, people were, that was a cultural Marxist movement, the hippie movement. They did nothing. They just did drugs and had sex and free love, and it was pushed by Marxist ideologies. That's a fact. So it's like he was on point with some of the stuff, but off point with some of the other stuff, because that was all pushed for this like free love. Like, and it's funny that like now that's the left. I'm a cat. I'm a dog. I'm a man. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm a woman, all these things that like, there's like, I can be anything I want. I'm a broom now. Sweep, you know what I mean? It's crazy, dude.
I found it interesting that he used the symbolism of the pine cone as well. I was like, oh, is it a little bit of knowledge passing? Like we gotta secretly do it or what?
I'll start posting this stuff on Instagram too.
You should be posting a lot more of this stuff. Like this is the.
I know it's just me yelling about how fucked everything is most of the times. Yeah. We got a couple more clips. I'm gonna end it on a pretty good one. This one's, I think this guy explains like the financial industry and how we're enslaved by it.
The legal name that we carry, which is Crown property, it is intellectual property which does not belong to me. Legal system, due to our birth certificates, which are Roman Curia owned, is a slavery system. We have an estate, we have a Sestri KV estate connected to our birth certificates, and everything is prepaid. Tell that to your pensioner friends. Everything is prepaid. All of our utilities are already prepaid. The utility companies are fraudulent. How many pensioners go to the post office to pay with that little stub? Next time you get a utility bill, try this. Ring the company and say, send me a true bill and I'll settle the true bill, because they only send statements in the mail, because they're only allowed to send statements because they've already been paid and they're double dipping. And this is why we are perpetuating the national debt. Every time you pay with fiat currency, anything, you are compounding the national debt, guys. Do not be a party to fraud. You don't pay. If you pay with reserve notes, that's private. It's a private bank. The Reserve Bank is a private bank. If you pay anything with reserve notes, you are compounding the national debt. You pay by discharging it. I was going to instruct the judge today to be the trustee, because the sheriffs are committing fraud by trying to make me the trustee. This is why young men and women are going to jail, because they are being forced under duress to be the trustee. The state is the trustee of our trusts. Every time you go to court, three parties turn up. The trustee, which is the judge, and the clerk, the executive officer, which is the prosecution, and the beneficiary. We are the beneficiaries of our trust. We should take control of those trusts and authorise the judge to discharge the debt. How? With a signature. We need to awaken all Australians to this fraud that is going on, and we will be out of debt, and we will have a beautiful country to live in. The whole world.
If you are looking for the knowledge that has been hidden from us.
So according to someone in the chat, that guy allegedly went insane, so who knows? But
I would. try to figure out all that shit out to make it make sense. Jesus.
Dude, there's a Canadian. I think I've played his clip on the show before. If not, I will. And he like doesn't. I think he doesn't have a bank card. He doesn't have a birth certificate. He has a company where I think it's like it's like, why can't I think? Who's the people that build the roads and shit? Construction company. I was like, why can't I think of this word? Construction company. And he's one away. He thinks that people should be under like sovereign rule of themselves and their own individuals. And he like they've compounded his cars, all that stuff, but he still keeps doing it. And he's went on tours. I can't remember his name, around like Canada to teach people about their rights and their sovereign rights, and how like when you have a birth certificate, we'll eventually cover that. I have an episode about that. It's like a
the
slave
Admiralty
note.
rules.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It's like a slave note, right? People don't realize where we're headed, where this is going. We're this lockstep, walking towards this authoritarian, 2030 agenda. Most people are too stupid to comprehend this stuff. Like in one of my songs, everybody that listens to this and sees this video and stuff like that, just go to Spotify and look up The Raptilian. I'm almost at 1,000 people. I'd appreciate the support of my music. Also, Apple Music and YouTube, look up The Raptilian. I would appreciate the support a lot. It'll say, you mean The Raptilian? No, just say The Raptilian. You'll just click the little thing. But I did a song called Tax Slave, right? Like, the government's not your friends, kids. Like, people are too stupid to comprehend this, but the government's not your friend. They want you dead. They're not your friends, kids. Like it's crazy, dude. People don't realize what's being done to them. And for all the liberals out there, I probably don't listen to the show, but anyone that thinks that somehow communism is a good thing and socialism, maybe in the way that the Mustache Man did it, may have worked out a little better, but check out this. This is where Canada is headed. This is the direction that we're headed, everybody. Probably in America too, because they're doing the same thing that they're doing here. I know everyone wants to boot kiss Trump and worship Trump, but he's not a good guy. He's owned by Israel. America doesn't even own itself. It's owned and controlled by Israel. That's a fucking fact. And he's there. Trust the plan. There is no plan. The plan is the UN agenda, and he is part of it. They need these people to be figureheads to make you believe to go along with their bullshit. And they need patriotism and nationalism when they bring everybody into the globalist war. It's The Raptilian. Yes, The Raptilian on YouTube. For everybody, look it up. I have a couple music videos out there, but check this out because this is pretty much the direction that we're headed. And for all those kids out there that are in Canada and they're going to communist parties, waving communist flags that have killed over 100 million people, one of the most deadliest ideologies to ever exist, this is what the fuck you're going to live through.
The People's Commune will be the bridge that will carry China towards the socialist paradise. The Commune experimented with a completely new way of life. All private property was abolished. Houses, animals, land and production tools became collective property. Nurseries and free, compulsory schools liberated women from their maternal duties so they could work in the fields. The family unit disappeared and children were made to live by the new rules of collective life. The individual was nothing more than a cog in a big machine.
The furniture was seized for firewood and everything that could be destroyed was destroyed. The pigs, the sheep, everything was collectivized. Even the pots and pans were seized because families weren't allowed to cook.
The aim was to force the peasants to take their meals in the commune's collective canteens. In some of them, they even abolished money. A system of work points was established. Food was distributed according to merit, i.e., each person's capacity to fulfill the production objectives. The notion of wages disappeared.
It was compulsory to turn up every day. If your name wasn't on the attendance list, you were punished and you lost work points. The fewer work points you earned, the less food they gave you. Oh, it was miserable. I can tell you that life was brutal for everyone at that time, except the cadres. Those people lived well.
From 1958 onwards, the cities are quite literally protected from the countryside. People are not allowed to just move about freely. A farmer who brings a cow to market will need to travel with a permit from his local cadre. People who try to flee the countryside are sad.
Pretty crazy, man. Yeah, for everybody that you can't find it on YouTube, yeah, they censor me a lot, but it will say, literally, if you put The Raptilian with the, it will say, do you mean The Raptilian? And you say, you have to click because it's so stupid. Like, I'm so annoying. So I was like, if you look up parasites in Parliament, The Raptilian, you'll probably find it. That's why I'm like, even, shout out Rob Primo. He was like, I don't know how this song hasn't gone viral like Mercules' song. And he hangs out with Mercules, and I'm like, tell him about my music, man. Help me out, because that'd be fucking sweet. He invited me to go hang. There's a big camp out concert on the May 24 weekend. It'll be close for the baby coming out. So I won't be able to make
That's
it.
not happening.
I know. He invited me to go and he's like, Mercules is going to be there. I'll be hanging out with him. And I was like, oh man, tell him about my music, man. Help me out. I do this all on my own. I have for fucking a long time. So, people don't understand where we're headed. We're going down a very dangerous road. I've only try to bring awareness to this, in all regards. And like I said, you can call me whatever names you like or whatever, but I do value all people. Yes, I think that some people's culture is fucking weird and strange to me. It's like against their skin color. It's against their culture. Some cultures do not mix in any regard, and they shouldn't, or they should. I've said this numerous times. If I loved, for some reason, I don't know who would, but if I loved India, I would go there and adapt to their culture. If I loved Japan, I would go there and adapt to their culture. But our government has brainwashed not only us, not me, but the mass population, that Canada was founded on multiculturalism and immigration, which is not fucking true. It was founded by settlers and built on the multiculturalism of a Eurocentric Western values, ideologies, traditions, customs, and all that stuff. So it's based on Eurocentric ideologies and people as in general, right? So you can't just blend everybody together and make this melting pot that actually was coined by, it was a Jewish guy. So you guys, if you guys are watching this and you haven't checked out me and Aaron's episode about the Kalergi plan and the melting pot scam, definitely check those out. There's a really good episodes. We break everything down, show a ton of videos. Those will be out on audio. They're going to be out on audio next week, especially the Kalergi plan. Maybe I'll release this in about 3 weeks from when we're doing it now on the end of April. And all the fans out there, this is kind of what's been happening is I'm building up content because when the baby comes, I'm going to be off for a month. So I at least want to make sure that there's content for video and for audio, especially audio, because that's a lot of our audiences on there. But now we're building it, especially with Rumble and stuff like that. There's a lot of people that tune into the chats. I appreciate, yes, I'm the green lizard with the tinfoil hat. Yes, that is my logo. Tom Thompson. Damn it. Oh, I've been at it for 10 years. That's why I just started releasing it, dude. I've been writing and doing music for a long time. I can't, that YouTube's 10 years old. Wow, I didn't know that. Because I just I was selling CDs and stuff like that. Just kind of $5, whatever, my CD. Some people would buy them for me. But then I was like, I'm going to start putting my stuff on YouTube. Never put it on the internet and should have. Never did. Right. And I should have just done this. And then now that I'm doing it, I could have had thousands of people on Spotify. The channel. Yeah. So I started slowly releasing my music. Just so crazy. But we'll play one more clip and then we'll end it out because this is a short one, but right on point.
They want to enslave your child, your wife, your mother. There isn't anything that you ever had. There isn't anything that you own. There isn't any right that you possess that they're not planning on taking away. Sheeple. Your sheeple. And your children are going to be slaughtered if you go along with the program. It's time to wake the town and tell the sheeple. We are being led like sheep to the slaughter. What is the purpose? A new world order. The United States of America is controlled by this evilarchy. They control the money system. They control the State Department. They control the presidency.
So they have a plan to give us a new age world global occultic religion. They're going to have been deceived so greatly that they'll actually think it's something good. In fact, the whole New Age movement, the New World Order crowd is telling people that the 666 mark of the beast is the most elite thing that could ever happen to them.
No cash. Cashless society. It's ready to go. Disease could be created. In essence, this is what he was saying.
We have new strains of virtually everything that's drug resistant or drug free.
I'm not worried about the old diseases. I'm worried about the ones that they create to bring down the population of the world. They simply want to exterminate them. But that they consider them to be useless eaters.
Words are very important to the Illuminati. These things are manufactured purposely for a purpose. And so I'm saying that there is something organized and directed, and it's here in this country.
Future Shocker biochip. And this is what Anthony showed you earlier, a biochip. That's an injectable computer chip, an economic mark in the back of our right hands or in our foreheads.
You've got a choice. You can join in this fight, or you can die as a slave.
So crazy, dude. Right on point, man.
Yep.
Literally, 1993, Jordan Maxwell, some people may, who knows, he controlled the opposition. Jordan Maxwell probably should have focused on his health a little bit more, but Jordan Maxwell, that guy knew his shit, dude. I think he might be dead now. I don't know. I'll have to look that up, but Jordan Maxwell knew his stuff, man. It's wild how deep in that rabbit hole he was way back then. And really, I think he wrote, I think I might have one of his books. If not, I have it on my saved list of things I want to order. But I would just like to, I try to stockpile books and stuff like that because I'm like, I don't know what the hell is going to happen in the future and stuff like that.
Hard copy everything, man. Keep
I have
hard
a book of
copies of everything.
communism. I have tons of stuff. I'm sure it's so crazy. I'm sure he was. Everyone's a Freemason. But like, I don't know how much they're exposing to wake people up because, they think in their own right, maybe they're doing a good thing. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but like I said, without people like David Icke and without people like Jordan Maxwell and some of these other characters, even Alex Jones, okay, you wouldn't have as many people as awake to the stuff that's going on that are. Oh yeah, they could be globalists and Freemasons or God knows what, but like at the end of the day, without those people, a lot of people wouldn't be awake and like cluing into what's going on of like this
it's like
financial system of slavery. Yeah.
Well, it's like I told you, Alex Jones, they have to tell the truth. So why not have that guy's never been wrong. Statistically,
he's been right like 70% of the time.
But as right as he's been to the detail, like there's no way he should be that right without being fed information. Absolutely no way.
It's crazy. So I appreciate you coming on for this. I always wanted to kind of cover this. It seemed right, especially at the time of the election just happened in Canada. People are not going to be prepared for what's going to be coming in the next, 4 years. Hopefully it's less than that because they have a minority government, God knows. But people like really start to think for yourselves, right? All I've ever done my entire life is think for myself, be aware of what's going on, try to prepare the best that you can in the ways that you can. It's crazy. All those guys made learning the truth entertaining. Yeah. A lot of critics poo-pooed them. It is wild. So who knows? But yeah, I appreciate you guys joining. Obviously, support the show. We have all new merch on the site. I ordered myself a bunch of shit because think about this. Everybody that's listening, watching, so merch is the best way to support us other than the Patreon. More and more people are coming over the Patreon. We don't have a lot of people over there, but more and more people are that are fans of the show. We offer one tier. It's very cheap. And there's a lot of content on there already, and there'll be a lot more. We still have a ton of episodes that we can release as early releases for the 7 years of strangeness. That's this Friday, motherfuckers. Not an audio. An audio, you'll probably hear it by the time this episode comes out because I'm going to release it as our 300th episode, even though it's like 400 episodes because we've taken down so many, some are on Patreon. But for that, I'm going to release the very first episode of Strange Brew Podcast on Patreon. It's 7 years old with a guy named, we called him Big Mac. He came on the show one time, moved, I haven't seen him again. I just know I have him on Facebook or whatever, but the audio is not the greatest, but you can still hear what we're talking about. It was the beginning of the show. So definitely go check that out. That's the best way to support us is on Patreon. But now I've added a bunch of merch designs. They're fucking cool. I'm wearing my Fuck the New World Order shirt. I might redo this with the advent of AI. I might be able to redo this a little better with a more visible Illuminati on fire symbol. A couple people have bought this shirt, but we have a Fuck the World Economic Forum shirt on there. So if you like to have fuck all over your shirt, my favorite is my Fuck Communism shirt. My wife doesn't like me wearing it in public, but I do it all the time by myself. People probably look at me like I'm insane, but it's got Fuck Communism with a bloody, like a dripping blood hammer and sickle. One of my favorite shirts to wear. I love the design. A lot of the stuff I created, the new designs I utilized AI to do it. I can't afford to pay the Strange Brew Podcast design that everybody sees. That cost me money. You know what I mean? Like, and to get it digitized and all that stuff. I had someone draw it. He did it for free because he was a fan of the show. And then I paid I think it's pretty, $100-$200 to get it digitized by somebody. So,
sell out.
I know I gotta do what I gotta do, man. But the merch looks sweet. I actually took so much time to get exactly what I wanted from the AI. And there's ones that I've created myself. There's a hilarious shirt and it's Billy. I'm gonna have to post it on the Instagram, but it's Billy as the Slenderman. I'm Bigfoot, and then Aaron is a Mothman. It's very funny. I actually ordered that shirt because I just think it's so funny. But there's a design of us all being smoked out of a bong by an alien. It's pretty cool. So you can find it at Strange Brew Podcast Linktree. Even if even if you just Google that Linktree Strange Brew Podcast, you'll find it. I'm really excited to announce that stuff. I'm gonna be promoting it on Instagram. I'm most active on Instagram. X is a strange platform to me. I post clips on there. It sometimes goes a little viral after months or something like that. It's weird because you really have to get into the algorithm and argue with people and like be a part of the conversation. But like, I just want to post clips and be like, see if people are interested in the show. We're most active on Instagram. We have a TikTok, but it has a ban warning. So God, the account could be gone tomorrow. But and then we're on Facebook also, and a lot of people use the Facebook, but we have like almost 1,000 people on there. So if you have Facebook, you can just look up Strange Brew Podcast. But also, one last thing, I never shout this out. We have a Hose Heads page called Strange Brews Hose Heads on Facebook. It's mostly just me sharing a bunch of funny racist memes and anti-Jew shit and stuff. Jokes, everybody. Just remember, it's just jokes. This whole show is it's just comical, right? Take nothing seriously. It's just satire. All of this show ever is, for all the people listening, for all the global elites, for the RCMP, the fucking thief. This is just a comedy show. Don't fucking forget that. But there's a lot of stuff that you guys can do to support the show. And like I said, we don't get any money really from the merch. Like, I get this. This is how crazy it is. I bought 4 shirts and a sweater, and listen, it was $130 or something like that. $100, 120, $30 with shipping. So that's actually pretty good considering 4 shirts and a sweater, because they always have these deals specifically on TeePublic where it's like 20% off the whole site. It's actually really good, because that's like the other site we run is Spring. I haven't added any of the new designs to that. And it costs, if you were to buy that on there, it'd be over $200. Like, it'd be absurd. So really watch for those deals. You do get, it's decent. It's pretty good merch. It prints off well, most of it. And, but I made $10. So like, that's just to make you understand of how we make like no money from it. So I've seen a lot of people are buying some of the shirts. We have like a Stay Strange, Not Asleep shirt that I've designed. So again, I'm not going to pander anymore. But yes, yeah, isn't that sexy? Yeah, the TeePublic is the newest stuff. Yeah, Spring, I'll maybe start to add some stuff to that. I didn't like Spring because when I put the Fuck the New World Order design in there and it took it down. And then I think when I put the Fuck Trudeau design, I think it might still be up, but they wanted to take it down. And I was like, yeah, see that the bong and the cryptids are at the top. It's funny, right? Like, so I appreciate anybody that supports. There's some really cool designs that I created with the help of gay artificial intelligence, but it's what I need to do to keep the show surviving and give people new stuff. So, all right, enough pandering. I appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun. Like, subscribe. Yeah, the retro Strange Brew tea is cool, dude. We still have the original design of the show, which was just it was stolen from Strange Brew podcast, and then I edited it and changed it, and it was like the bottle cap with the bottle opener, and then a weed leaf that I put in the background, Stranger Podcast. And it's crazy when people were clicking that, because it's just like such a basic design. It doesn't even really describe the show. It's just like, oh, these guys drink and smoke weed. You know what I mean?
Well, thanks for having me again, Tom. Everyone out there, you can find me on Instagram, Sailor Boy Troy, and on YouTube, Pop Thoughts, and hope to be seeing you guys again soon.
So go support his stuff. You've been just kind of trying to get into the scene and stuff like that of doing shows and branching out on Instagram and stuff like that. And we just kind of talked of you were a fan of the show, and then I brought you on and we did an episode about psychedelics, and we've kind of became friends through this. So like, and you're a person that's a good sub. They're like, hey, you want to cover this? And you're like, yeah, let's do it.
We still got to do the 7 Fires very soon. We keep forgetting to do that.
I want to do that. I'm going to have to talk to Adrian, see if I can bring him on for that. He seemed down, so we'll have to do that. I appreciate all you guys that watched. It means a lot. Like, subscribe, share, support the show. It means more than you fucking think. If you have if you have an Apple phone, go leave us a 5-star rating review, all that stuff. It does mean more than you think. All right. Stay strange, everybody.